Hello there, and welcome to Tales of the Force, a place for fans to tell their Star Wars stories. Joining me today is Kevin. Kevin is 45 years old and has been a lifelong Star Wars fan. From the movies to the toys, the books, and the games, he has enjoyed the world Lucasfilm has built. His fandom reached new heights 7 years ago when he was encouraged to join a Star Wars costume club. Being able to share his fandom with the public and his child has been a gift all its own. Don't forget, this is Kevin's personal story. It is not my place on the show to dismiss, diminish, judge, or have an opinion on his story. Any views, thoughts, or opinions expressed are his own. Any comments on this episode and story are expected to be respectful. Please join me in welcoming Kevin to Tales of the Force. Hi, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. And yourself?
I am doing good. It's a nice day, so I don't really have anything to complain about. Got to spend some time with my dogs and do some stuff outside, go to a yoga class, so I'm doing good.
Huh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm so thankful for you coming on. I'm really excited. I love getting to talk to people, especially people that are in kind of the costuming side and cosplay side of the fandom, because that's not something that I have delved into yet. And I love hearing about that and the creativity behind it. So thank you for coming on and being willing to share your story and talk about everything.
Oh yeah. Happy to be here.
So I guess we can just get into it. What kind of got you into Star Wars?
Um. Well. Uh. Gosh. I was really young. When Star Wars came out. Like. Uh. Yeah. I was like a year old in 1980. So I was right in the mix of it as the movies were, premiering, and um. I the first thing I kind of remember is kind of the playset, the Hasbro playset of like Luke's battle with Vader
Yeah.
at the in the Star Destroyer. It was a weird little setup, and they had the lightsabers that kind of came up through their hand, like a little piece of clear plastic. So I had that, and that was fun. My favorite toy or favorite of them was I had a Scout Trooper that I absolutely loved. That just the helmet and everything was just so cool, and so I remember that traveled with me a lot. That was my favorite toy. So, you know, um, the toys were kind of the first big thing, and then Empire Strikes Back was like the first. I mean, the snow speeder battle was just um, like just awestruck watching these little ships battle giant walking tanks. It was like nothing else I've ever seen before. And so yeah, I was pretty much hooked from there, and um, been a fan ever since.
Yeah, Empire has some great scenes, and I feel like it's always riveting when you watch it. Even if you know what's gonna happen,
Mm-hmm.
the battle on Hoth where they're doing all of that and
Mm-hmm.
they're trying to get the cables to work, and I mean it's just so well done. I think
Mm-hmm.
this sequence, and it's still, to me, it's kind of like I think of watching the pod race on
Yeah.
Phantom Menace too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of on the edge of your seat, like what's gonna happen? Is it still gonna end up okay? Which you know it is,
Right.
but it's just that good.
Right. It feels real because the things going wrong at the last minute. Like, oh crap, we
Yes,
had this
yes.
big plan, and all of a sudden it's not working, and crap.
What do you do? You
Yeah.
know? And I love it when there are moments in movies that it really, even as adult,
Hmm.
you are transported there completely. And I think that is definitely another Star Wars moment where you're not thinking about what's going on around you. Even if you've seen it 5 million times at this point, like you are paying attention to that scene and what's going on and how's going to Luke figure this out and how are the rebels going to get away. Like it's
Yeah.
just so good.
And there's so many little details happening at once that it feels organic,
Uh-huh.
and sort of, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that scene caught me. I mean, and I was super excited when we got to play it in video games. So like in Shadows of the Empire, actually getting to do it yourself, and so yeah.
With all the toys and everything, is that something that you like reenacted as a kid with the toys?
um, a little bit. I mean, we didn't ha- we didn't have the money to buy all the play
Oh,
sets and
yeah.
everything,
Yeah, they're
but
expensive.
yeah. But I did have Legos, and um, it helped. I started building some of the vehicles myself out of what Legos I had. So I
Yeah.
like had my own X-wing that I made and all this stuff. With working wings, and so it kind of it's like, how do I recreate this with what I have on hand, sort of thing, and that that's where I went went
Which
with it.
is a great skill just to learn in life too, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it
Working with what you have and making the best of it and making something out of it. Like
yeah,
that's such a cool thing to learn even as a kid through Legos.
yeah. I
Or
mean,
Lego,
and
sorry. I know it's not plural, Lego.
I won't tell anybody, but I mean, and honestly, that's what they did in Star Wars as well with set building. I mean, they would just pour out models and glue them on somewhere and spray paint them and make something work, or like, just you know, kit bashing is at the heart of Star Wars design of everything they do. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
That kind of stuff is so fascinating to me. And I
mhm.
love how they can make something, especially when they use the models and it's so tiny, but then when you see it, it's
It's
not
another
on the
world.
screen. Yeah, yeah, it's so cool. I everything about just the industry of making films and the behind the scenes aspect of it has always been something that I have always been just so intrigued by, and it is so inspiring and I think has really influenced especially Star Wars and what Lucas did and I what Disney's doing now. I think really helps influence that next generation of creators to get involved in something and think, oh, like I'm playing with this at home, but I can build this myself for myself as an adult or as a kid or a teenager or whatever. Or if that's something you want to get into, then you have people that are getting into film or set design or visual effects or different things. So
Yeah,
it's, I love seeing how something can be it's so inspiring to people.
yeah,
It's just neat.
yeah.
So, did you have any characters as a kid that you found really, I guess, speaking of inspiring, that were inspiring to you, through anything?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, at the time, the movies were just the
Yeah.
movies. I mean, I will say that the one person I really gravitated towards was Wedge
Hmm.
Antilles. Just there doing his job. You know, he's not going for the glory. He's like, "Yep, I'm here flying my X-wing. Oh, we got to blow up a space station. I'm there. Oh, there's a second one. I'm there
Okay.
too. Like, and like, he's just, he's great at his job, absolutely amazing, but he's not, standing in the limelight to do it.
And
And
he's not, as far as we know, I guess. He's not force sensitive. He's not a Jedi. He's just doing the best that he can and
Yeah.
being willing to do that. And I love it when they focus on stories like that too. Because yes, I love the Jedi and I love
Mhm.
all the force stuff, but I also love the kind of every person story. I
Yeah.
love that too.
Yeah, those are some of the, I think they've made some of their best stories out of the regular person that's in it. You've got these like people who are almost like gods
Mm-hmm.
walking around among you, and you're just a regular Joe having to, deal with people that can launch rocks and boulders, and you know they've got laser swords and everything, and it's like I got a little blaster.
Yeah. But they couldn't have done what they did without the help of people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the Jedi couldn't have done anything with the Clone Wars if it wasn't for the clones or, the rebels. I
Yeah.
mean, yes, Luke did what he did, but there was the
Yeah.
rebels that were
Yeah.
backing and doing all of the things,
Yeah, there's a ton
So,
of people in the background, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah. And
yeah,
I
so
love the exposition of that too, because you see even though like regular people, if they're really good at it, like
mhm,
I love how Star Wars deals with the issue of like your ego
mhm,
and letting that get in the way. And I think that can be the downfall of a lot of the people that are the viewed almost like gods in Star
mhm,
Wars, and their hubris, their
yeah,
ego, their I'm really good at,
accountability.
yes, that. But then they also still show that in people like Han or Poe or people that are really
Mhm,
good at something.
mhm,
Even if they're not a Jedi, we all still have things that we have to work on.
yeah,
And I love how Star Wars does that. And I love how it's so interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and I love how Lucas created a world that was what we could aspire to in a sense with certain aspects of it, right?
mhm,
So like you look at the Jedi and you're like, wow, they were supposed to be keepers of peace and balance and all this kind of stuff, and all humans were equal and all this sort of things, but then there was still prejudice against aliens or droids. So it's like the humans maybe were a little better than us in a sense, but then they weren't. And you,
yeah.
you know what I
There's
mean? And
there's still people and
yeah,
still,
yeah. And
you know,
so I love kind
subject
of
to the same failures as everybody else.
exactly. It's like, okay, well, maybe they figured this section out, but they still weren't perfect in this area. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
I love how Lucas, like, it has so much hope and inspiration, but it's also like a good reminder of, but don't let your ego get in the way because they still had issues.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's like inspiring, but reflective at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. Good stories. Good
Yeah,
stuff for him.
for sure. But yeah, Wedge is a great character. I think he is can be a little underrated, and more people should
Oh, yeah.
like
I
talk
mean,
about
he
him.
he
So
really shines in the X-Wing novels and the Wraith Squadron novels. As he's a natural leader. He just doesn't like to be in this, doesn't like to shine. He just likes to get things done without
yeah,
too much fuss.
yeah, and I think people like that sometimes can be very undervalued.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so important in the real world too, because like we were talking about ego, not everything has to be about that. And I think
Mm-hmm.
when you kind of put that out of your mind and you just try to do something and it not be for glory or yourself or different
Mm-hmm.
things, you tend to be not only a better person for it, but sometimes you can accomplish more things that way too.
Yep.
So Wedge is great. Is there any other people or characters, or I mean, and it doesn't have to be a character. It could be a
Mm-hmm.
storyline or like you said, the set design. It doesn't have to be a specific person. I think
Mm-hmm.
anything can be inspiring in Star Wars and help us
Yeah. I
through
mean,
our
I
stories.
I I love the costumes. I mean, the stormtroopers are great. I've absolutely loved what they've done with the Mandalorians
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. But yeah, I mean, just some of the costumes. I mean, I like I like the shore troopers. If I was like looking at Imperial, because it looks like a comfy, it looks like a comfy armor set. But yeah, I just the costume designs. I mean, I growing up, I had some friends that were like really into Star Trek,
Hmm.
and I was you I joined along with them. I
Hmm.
watched Deep Space Nine and everything, but I always liked Star Wars because it felt real and dirtier, and like there was dirt.
Hmm.
People's costumes got dirty, and you know they were rough and tumble, and everything wasn't perfect and idealistic. And that's not a knock on Star Trek. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
they went through a lot of stuff to get there. So
Yeah.
um, but there's just something that felt more real about how everything looked and appeared. And I mean, if you imagine if somebody was flying a semi trailer, it would not be in the best.
Hmm.
And if they're, imagine people now, just the way they, you know, fix stuff, in roundabout ways, duct tape wrapped around hoses and stuff. That's what the Millennium Falcon is. It's a semi trailer that's been been patched together with whatever's available, and there's a realness to that. And it kind of just uh, I related to it in a
Yeah.
way. It's like you've got to make the best of what you have.
Yeah.
You've got this ship. It's got to fly. Um, Hand me the hydro spanner and some twist ties, and we'll make it work.
Yeah. Like the Star Wars, like you were saying, like twist ties or zip ties or something, like or duct tape, like the, just keep it together somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. Yeah, I think it is definitely very lived in, like it is. And then when you see something that isn't, you're like, how'd they get that?
Yeah.
You think about it like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay, like why are you living this life when there's other people that are trying to make do and get by? Like there is that contrast too.
Yeah. I mean, even in the clones, they kind of mock the shinies, the ones who have the pristine armor as being shiny and not having been through battle and everything.
Yeah.
Well, they've got markings and blaster marks everywhere and stuff. So it's very much part of the aesthetic.
Yeah, I love the intentionality of it. And I think Star Wars can be very intentional in things. And if it doesn't seem intentional, then that's when sometimes people are like, wait, something seems off, because I think it, it is very specific on choices and even down to hairstyles or colors that people wear, things that it's very intentional in Star Wars. And if it's supposed to be a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it needs to look old, like a long time ago in a
Yeah,
galaxy far, far away, a little bit. Not that some stuff isn't shiny or pretty or whatever,
yeah,
because, like, just like in the real world, there's people that live in a shiny, pretty whatever,
yeah.
and
And they make sure that there's a difference between the Imperial's super cleanliness and almost surgical room styling
yes.
versus the rebels who have like the big spool tables or whatever that's what they're living on, or
Yeah. Or
like an
like the
Andor, the
Senate is
tents.
like shiny,
Hmm.
like they're in those shiny, I don't know what they're called, but the things that they're all in. And,
Hmm.
that was something that as a kid also just sucked me in,
Hmm.
was that part of the prequels, was the all of the Senate chamber things. Like it just
Oh
was
yeah,
so fascinating to me that you would think of having this platform that you're on, and then it like moves out, and as that person's speaking, they're floating around. Like it's just so creative to me, and
yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it makes sense in a way. It's like how do you let these people from that planet over there address us? Come to the center.
Yeah, because they could have done like a big screen, but I feel like that seems to almost real world, maybe. Like, I know
Yeah.
they had their own kind of in their little pod, but I don't know. It just, that kind of stuff, like you're saying, the costumes and just the set design, I love that kind of stuff. Like, it's just so interesting. And I think why a lot of people get into cosplay or costuming, or they like to go to Galaxy's Edge, or when the Star Cruisers are around, go
Mhm.
there because it has a feeling of being a part of something that you've seen on TV and
Yeah.
getting to experience that in a sense, you know?
Mhm.
So, how did you get into all of the cosplay and costuming that you do?
Oh,
Because it's phenomenal, by the way.
oh, thank
So,
you. Um, so I would dress up for Halloween and stuff, and then in college, I still dressed up a little bit. Like I'd do like Snake Eyes or something like that from GI Joe, and then I kind of fell off from doing it. Because you feel like you get too old for it.
right? Yeah.
Um, and then the miracle of birth happens, and you have a little small person, and of course you're going to take them trick or treating. And so um, when they were old enough, started doing like duo costumes. So they'd be a dragon, and I'd be the
Hmm.
knight following them around, or um, and then one year we'd start watching the Clone Wars, which absolutely love the Clone Wars.
Hmm. Same.
Um, so they were going to be Ahsoka, and I originally was going to try to do an Anakin costume. And I was at a thrift store and I found a Captain Rex Hasbro helmet,
Hmm.
the old ones, and I was like, "Oh, I'll do Rex." And so, I got a bunch of foam, watched I don't know if I can name drop somebody here.
Oh,
Uh,
that's fine. I don't care.
uh, Bill Duran, who is from the Seattle area,
Okay.
uh, did a lot of videos on using EVA foam for
Okay.
costuming. And
Yeah.
so I'd like watch all those, and I put together this Captain Rex costume with the helmet, like con crunch. I'm at the last minute, like spray painting shoes to get them white and put everything on them, and took my kid to a local convention in Tacoma, and um, they ended up getting second place in the kids costume contest. So you
That's
know
so cool.
I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like we like worked really hard getting the Montrails and everything together, and they looked amazing. I actually have a picture. I don't know, right
Oh
there.
my gosh, that's amazing. I love
Yeah,
it so much.
yeah. So um, yeah, and I did that, and as we were leaving, somebody like pulled me aside and said, "Oh man, that's a really legit Rex costume." And I was like, "Oh!" And I was like, "Okay, I'm kind of in this." And then the next year we went, um, the local chapter of the Mandalorian Mercs
Hmm.
was there, and we started talking about their costumes and everything. And um, my wife was like, "Hey, if you do this, then one day you can do the Rex costume again." I'm like, "Okay." And so twist my arm. Yeah. So I started working on my Mercs costume, and yeah. So I've been in it ever since. Just
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I love that your wife was so supportive of it
oh
too.
yeah,
So it's
yeah,
always great to have a supportive partner. Like it's always so helpful.
oh yeah, and yeah, that really helped a lot. And like, I was like, oh, I need a helmet and all this stuff. And I was like looking at cheap stuff, and she's like, if you're gonna get it,
Just
get
do
the
it.
helmet you want. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I will do
Twist
that.
my arm.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I got my helmet, and you know, I'm never changing my costume. Well, it changes, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So has it gone through different like iterations or?
a little bit. I mean, it's still the same costume, but it's evolved. Like when I first wore it, I had like thigh plates. I had armor that was more like Django's.
Mhm.
Um, and then while wearing it, his real life costumes aren't as great as movie costumes where they have different. I was like, okay, no thigh plates. I'm taking these off, taking taking off other pieces and adding on other pieces. So I've added and removed stuff, but it's essentially the same costume I've had for these past 7 years.
Yeah.
Um, and so I I really believe in letting the now I do letting the costume continue to evolve, especially because of how we build them. They're built to last.
Mhm.
So there's things that have changed. Like I've changed like a sigil on the shoulder a little bit, or you know, um, there's a lot that's on the helmet itself that I could talk for hours on. Honestly, um, I could probably cut it down, but
So is it like intentional like symbols or colors? Like
oh
what went
yeah,
into
okay.
yeah,
I'm
tell
gonna
me
bring
about
it
it.
over. So this is my helmet.
Yes, I'll put pictures up for people that are listening to the audio. It's
Yes.
so cool. Is
So
it like a dark like gray or blue or is it like a black?
it's a you can probably see it a little better. It's blue, black, and gray,
Okay.
with red markers.
Yes.
So
It's very kind of Bad Batch looking. I
a
love
little
it.
bit, yeah. um, so yeah, there's a lot of intentional stuff on here. Like for instance, these red markers,
Uh-huh.
my hash marks
Mm-hmm.
are actually every costumed appearance I've made in this costume. So I
You add
keep
more to
track.
it.
So I add and then put stripes and everything.
That's
Um,
awesome.
back here, it's kind of hard to see.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, there's like notches with different colors.
yeah, I've marked off every year that I've been in the club, and the colors are what position I held. And then if there's something significant that went on, I put a little mark. Like there's one that's the biohazard symbol
Uh-huh.
for COVID.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
So, and then there's one for head injury right
Okay.
there. So, because, and then I actually put my surgical staples
Oh my goodness.
on there
Yeah. Yeah.
because I had a tumor last year. So,
Oh my gosh. That
so,
is scary. Are you okay and
oh yeah,
everything?
oh yeah, I'm way better now that the tumor is gone. So,
Yeah. How did that happen? Did they just
um,
find
yeah,
out from like were you getting headaches or
I
like
was getting it was getting really bad. I I made it to one day of a con, and then I went home and I was sick. I mean, I had been continuously getting worse throughout the year, um, but it got really bad in September, and that's when they found it and got me into surgery, got it pulled, and so I feel like a new person again. It's a second lease on life and a
yeah, I'm
greater
sure.
appreciation of all things.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Yeah, that's
um,
life changing. That's
yeah.
like terrifying for one, and
Hmm.
two, just yeah, I mean, I guess unless you know someone or you've gone through something similar that's like unexpected and that scary, like it's
Hmm.
hard to kind of explain that to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought it would be um, good to take those surgical staple. They actually let me keep the surgical staples. Those are the
Yeah.
actual surgical staples on the helmet.
Oh my gosh. That
And
is
so,
such a unique like creative idea.
yeah, I'm like, the helmet's been through a lot. There's all kinds of scrapes and you know blade marks and everything on it already.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's a pretty significant thing to happen. So I'll just add it into the costume. And
Yeah. And
it's
that's one of the unique things I think about the Mandalorian mercs is that you can, it's not like a screen accurate thing, or it doesn't have to be,
it doesn't have to be.
So
No,
yeah.
I mean we've got some people that have done some amazing Din Djarin's and Bo Katans and Paz Vizslas and everything.
But
Um,
you can do your own. Like you
oh,
can do screen accurate, but it's
mhm,
not like that's a
exactly.
requirement.
Yeah.
So
So, um, yeah, and I've tried to take that sort of care with the rest of my kit, and yeah, I don't ever want to change. Some people,
it means
eh,
too much to you,
yeah, it means a lot. I mean, so I just continue to grow with it, and make little adjustments here and there. Change the boots or
Yeah.
something. So, but yeah, I love my costume. I love the organization, and I kind of love it. Like I mentioned before, it kind of just made me love Star Wars so much more. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, because when you start getting into like reading some of the books and stuff, um, like the Karen Travis Republic Commando books, they delve into Mandalorian culture and everything. You kind of see. I don't know that there's any other culture in Star Wars that has had as much of a deep dive as the
Hmm.
Mandalorians has. As far
And
as
they've gone through so much too.
yeah, yeah. There's so much. I mean, in some of the little companion books, like they have that guide to bounty hunting, and then they in the back half, all of a sudden, like Vizsla takes over and like tucked in like a history book about the Mandalorians in the back of it and all that stuff. And they've got a language, they've got old religion, all this stuff, and all these credo that they go by and all that stuff. And that's fascinating in itself. You could get lost in just looking at just one culture out of all of these, and I'm just so happy with everything that's come out. I love everything. I'm happy. You know, we lived through kind of a dark age for a while there,
Yeah.
where there was no Star Wars really anything unless
Yeah.
you grabbed books, and otherwise you had to watch Ewok stories and droid cartoons, and that was it. That's all you got. I'm like,
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah. And
So,
now there's more, and it's, yeah. And
and it's
it's,
spread to everybody. There's something for everybody. You've got
yes.
more comedic stuff. You've got political intrigue over here. You've got your usual Jedi stories. There's so much for everybody, and it's
Yeah.
awesome that everybody has an opportunity to enjoy Star Wars in their own way.
Yeah, because if you want it to grow and you want it to continue, there's got to be some variety,
Hmm.
so that it's a thriving, healthy, living type fandom. And I think I love that they did The Mandalorian and that they did Andor, because like we were talking about earlier, it's a different side to Star Wars that hasn't been explored as much, maybe in some of the books that the EU or Legends, they
Yeah,
might have explored more of that in there, but within a series that was, a movie, or, now there's TV shows, that I don't think that was explored as much. And so I love seeing kind of the grittier, not behind the scenes, but it's like, the everyday
yeah,
person, like we talked about, and the
hmm
struggles that they had, because I think to sometimes really fully understand the risk that the rebels took and how bad the empire was, you kind of have to see the conditions of what the people lived under in the
right.
different places, and how
Hmm.
it affected even the outer rim and how it affected everybody. And I think that even today, I mean, not to get into too many like deep things like relevant to like our world, but I think there's something to be learned from that, because if we think that we're just individuals and it's just me, and yes, I love that people are getting to be individual and they're getting to express themselves and be
Mhm.
free to be who they are. That's wonderful. But I think we need to remember that community is needed. Like, we
Oh, yeah.
need each other.
Mhm.
And what affects one person is going to affect another. And I love how they explore that in Star Wars in the positive and negative way. So the Empire affected everybody, even people that were loyal to it, even
Mhm.
planets that were loyal to it. They exploited them. They took advantage of people. They didn't really care. And then on the other side, it shows that, if you help somebody, even within like your small circle, that can make a big change and that
Yeah.
can affect your community in a positive way. And so I love, again, it's that exposition of the two different sides of things that is something you can think about if you want to. You can watch
Yeah.
Star Wars and you can be like, oh, it's cool. It's got blasters. It's got cool effects. It's got lightsabers. It's got, all this stuff. And you don't have to pay attention to the deeper things if you don't want to. But I'm one of those people that I love that side of it
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So
Yeah. And, you know, the Clone Wars really dug into it. It didn't gloss over things, and you know, there's so many different stories, and the prequels were real. People mock them, but they had some really good story elements that really, drove the point home. I think some people don't want to admit it, but they're really
yeah.
good. Yeah, there's so much. There's
Yeah,
and
there
I mean,
is.
for something like Star Wars to continue, it has to evolve and keep telling new stories, and you know, it's got to pin to the current world in some way so people
Hmm.
can relate and stuff. So,
Yeah, yeah. Do you see within the costuming community? I mean, I know I see it online, but do you see it in real life, like younger people wanting to join and get involved in that aspect of the fandom too?
oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, across any of the clubs, you're seeing a lot younger people coming in full of ideas and everything, and it's great to see just you know how willing they are and to jump in, feet first, and just go at it. And everybody's got great ideas on how to accomplish the same mission, and it's awesome seeing what people come up with.
Yeah, it's so creative. I
Hmm.
know I keep talking about every time MegaCon. That's the only con I've been to. It's the first one.
Hmm.
I want to go to more.
Everybody's got
Like,
their first.
yeah. And so until I can go to another one and have more stories about a different one, sorry
Hmm.
guys, I'm going to be referring to this. But there was somebody, I don't know who it was, but their costume was so cool. It was a Mandalorian and it was like pastel colors and had like almost like this sheer like cape with like a screen in their helmet.
Oh, wow.
So cool. And almost like anime kind of. Like, I don't know how else to describe. Like, it was so cool. So cool. And everybody was just every time that person would walk around in that costume just like in awe and be like, did you see the screen in their helmet? Like, it was just like can
Yeah.
be jaw dropping, honestly, some of the Mandalorian costumes. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just so neat.
I'm continuously impressed with the things people come up with for their kits, and just the little bits of themselves that they put into their costume. That's that person right there.
Yeah.
That's you can see a little bit of their personality in every Mandalorian's costume, which is great.
Yes. And then if you want to just do a character, not that it's just doing a character because it's still very intensive,
Yeah.
but you can make really cool screen accurate ones too if you want to have, because I think some people might get overwhelmed and
Hmm.
they want something they can stick to and
Yeah.
have as a reference guide almost to build something. Because I think for some people, I'm sure starting from scratch and creating a character could be overwhelming.
Yeah. it's a little bit like creating a character for like D&D or something like
Yes, yes. I know you love
that.
D&D too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, there's some amazing stuff. I mean, and the cool thing about costuming is you get to learn new skills too. It's not like, okay, there's a costume here. It's like, okay, I got to learn how to sew. And so you're sitting there with like a sewing machine and like learning that, or now I got to learn how to paint and like learn how to paint. And it's just a skill building, um, you know, route. um, uh,
I think it's so cool. And
yeah,
I've noticed too, it seems to be a very welcoming community that is very helpful to other people. Like I'm sure there's people that gatekeep in it, like with anything else.
yeah.
But it seems from what I can tell, like the majority is if you need help or you want advice or if you feel like you can't make this aspect of it, but you find a maker that can help you make that,
Hmm.
it's encouraged and it's a very community and group effort.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have what they call armor parties on a regular basis, where it's like everybody, let's get together and just make costumes together, or work on your current project, and we all, you know, either at somebody's house or at a community center or something. Everybody just starts lugging in, bins and whatever
Great.
tools they need, and somebody's like, "Oh, I need help with this," or "I don't know how to sew this well," and so like three people come swarming in like, I know how to do this, and they're like helping them and like posing them and like getting sizing, and like by the time it's by the time it's done, half the costume is done, or somebody's just learning how to like cut plastic, and you're like, okay, here's how you do it. And it's like part building, part classroom, all in
Yeah.
one. And it's amazing to see. There's just a sense of community with just sitting there, and sometimes people are working on costumes, other times they're just sitting around, talking about Star Wars or talking about life. And it's a really great way to build a good friend group.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of what I really wanted from this podcast is I feel like online can be there's a lot of like either way you look at it, the most vocal people are the ones that get heard sometimes,
Yeah,
regardless of intentions or that sort of thing. And not to focus on that. I don't want to focus on that.
sure.
But like within the community in real life, it's so much a family and
Hmm.
it's so much of helping each other and how do you want to come to a con? Well, let's go together. Do you not have a friend to go with you? That's cool. You can come with me.
Yeah,
Or, meeting someone in line and becoming friends with them or joining a different group that's, one of the cosplaying groups and doing things with that or whatever it is. I love seeing the in real life aspect of it um, come into this social media sphere.
yeah,
And that's kind of like what I wanted to be really intentional when I created this because I wanted it to somehow echo that community feeling online because it's hard to find that sometimes. It seems to be
yeah,
if you view this or you view this, like you're in two separate corners of the fandom. And I'm like, why can't we be together? Like, why can't we talk about things? Why can't we learn from each other and grow from each other? It might not be hands on, like you're talking about getting together, doing that, but online, we can make it better.
yeah,
And I think talking about what we love and enjoy and if you do have a valid critique, that's fine. Like that is totally fine to have too. Um, but talking about those things in a way that is moving something forward in a positive way, why we should be able to do that. And
yeah.
so yeah, I love learning about all these things and learning about people's little details. Like you're like, oh, I don't know. Do you want to know about this? I'm like, yes, I do want to know about this because
How
I
much
love
time do you
it.
have? Because we could be here like
I love intentional things and how people will make something about something that is meaningful to them. Like you were showing all the things on your helmet, and I'm sure it's the same way with every piece of armor that you have, even down to the colors that you pick.
Hmm.
It's has a meaning to it, and I think that's so special and so important. So
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there. Yeah, we need more spaces like this, and I appreciate you putting one together.
oh, thanks. It's a little scary, but it's okay.
Yeah, they always are. You'll get it. And
Yeah, it's just part of it, but it's all right. And I feel like I'm genuinely making friends not just here in the US all over the place, but even now in other countries. And that it's so fun because it makes it even more exciting for me to go to conventions and different things because I'm like, "Oh, I can meet this person in person that I've met online." And it's just the community aspect of it is so wonderful to me. And that's something I've always loved about Star Wars is
yeah,
the found family and helping each other and just having someone that has your back. And I love seeing that in real life and through even the internet, like doing these kinds of things. It's
it
just
takes a
gives
community
me
to start a
hope.
rebellion.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love it. I love it. And do you play any of the like Star Wars games or
Um,
role playing things or
I've
anything?
I've played a whole bunch. I like played both of the Knights, of the Old Republic, a little bit of Battlefield here and there. I loved the old TIE Fighter and X-Wing games. Those were amazing when they first came out. I mean, they're still amazing, but like, stuff like that, the Dark Forces. And I played a lot of the older stuff. I
Yeah.
played a Jedi Survivor. That's the first one, right? I think so. Um, I played that. That was pretty freaking amazing as well. So yeah, I play a lot of the video games. I haven't played like any like tabletop anything Star Wars, but yeah,
Yeah, there's so much. It's hard. Like there's
yeah.
so many aspects of things and I I didn't have like a video like a console for a gaming system like at my house growing up, but I played like my friends games and different things. So I haven't played a lot of the Star Wars games, but that's something that I would probably be really awful at it and it would be like hilariously entertaining.
Yeah,
Honestly, but it's something that I'm like, okay, is that something that I kind of want to invest in and go down that route and do some of that just for fun because
yeah,
I think I'd enjoy it. It
yeah,
is like you were saying, it can back to like talking about Empire, and getting to play that. It does build more of characters or more of the Star Wars stories and mythos and I don't know, kind of you have that feel that you're in it, which is really fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shadows of the Empire is like my go-to for a long time.
Yeah, I'm excited about, and it's escaped me now the name, but the new game that's gonna come out.
The Ubisoft one, the open world.
Yes, because I love stuff like that. Like
Hmm.
any game that I have played that has been something that I've really enjoyed to play, has been those types of games. So, and it's fun because isn't it? It's a smuggler, I think.
Hmm. It's a
Yeah,
smuggler with
yeah.
like a battle droid buddy or something.
Yes, like
I'm
that's
down
so
for that.
fun. And so that I don't know, like I'm interested to see like how they do that and what characters you can kind of interact with during the timeline that it's set in if
Hmm.
you can and I don't know, that kind of thing just really fascinates me. I loved playing games that um let's see. At one point, my husband had a PlayStation. I don't remember which one it was. And he had the Fable game.
Hmm.
And I can't even tell you how many hours went into that game. It was so much fun.
It's a good game. It's a
I
really good.
loved being able to pick like are you going to be good or are you going to be bad? Like, I think one time I did it where I accidentally did a couple of things that I was like, that's not what I meant to do. Because again,
You
I'm
feel
not
bad
the best at
and
games.
reload.
No, I like went with it, and then
Oh,
I ended up having horns and wings, and it was so cool.
right on.
But yeah, so I like games like that. I think it's really fun, and I think that would be an aspect of it that I would be interested in exploring, maybe getting into. But yeah, I'm like, I could be an entertaining person to watch try to play these games because I'm not going to be very good at it. And people would
Hmm.
just laugh at me and be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Sometimes that's part of the fun. I know they have a lot of the old PC games. You can get those like on Steam or something if
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
crazy on
I've
those.
played, I know this makes a lot of people cringe because it's like people hate it, but I have played both of the Knights of the Old Republic games on my phone,
Oh,
which I know some people hate because they're like, "Oh, it's on your phone, it's not the same." But I did that because I was like,
play it
"Well,
where you play it.
it's $15. It was like a deal or something. I think it was $15 for both of them. And my husband actually was like, I bought these games for you. And I was like, thank you. And I played them. And it's like I've played them so many times because it's so fun.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think I've got like a couple games on my tablet that probably are better on the PC, but I got them where I got them for
yeah.
traveling or whatever.
Yeah. If
I'm
you
not gonna
enjoy it,
carry a whole desktop with me.
yeah. And if
We're past those days.
you enjoy it, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
but it was me being able to, explore those stories and learn more about characters that people loved because I have said it already again, but I'm not as versed in legends and different things with the books or the comics or the game. So that was really fun for me to get
Hmm.
to play and then now have an aspect of Star Wars that I understood a little bit more that
Yeah.
people loved. And so even if it's not maybe as good on your phone, it still helped me learn the storyline, which
Yeah.
I really enjoyed.
There's so
So,
much stuff. It's like you can't be expected to know all that stuff. Like,
and I love all the Mandalorian stuff in it too, like their
mhm.
older armor in that. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
just fast. Is there? I wonder. I'm sure there is people that cosplay
Oh my
and
God.
like
Yeah, there are
in
some
that.
people that are making some old Crusader armor, and God, the stuff that they have to do to make it viable for actual human heads is just wow.
Yeah, I'm sure
They're
it's
like making the
insane.
cowls and like
Yeah,
molding them out of like latex and everything, and it's like holy mackerel.
yeah.
I can't believe you did that. Oh, I'm just awestruck. I mean,
And I think 3D printing has like just changed so much too and
yeah,
added
it
so much
definitely
that people
has.
can do now
Yeah,
with everything.
I,
So,
I, I still am a strong believer in kit bashing, though. Like, you know, a lot of us actually have like big bins full of just junk we found, whether it's like a car part here or like we took apart a VCR and found some stuff. Like, because it's like I said, it's such an integral part of
yeah.
the Star Wars aesthetic. Like, oh yeah, this used to be a shaver, but now it's a you know a
Yes.
calm device. Like, okay, like just doing stuff like that. It has brought more people in, and that's great, and I
Yeah.
love it, and it's amazing. And I'm like, here, glue this little thing on there; it'll be fine.
I love it. And it makes me think of like the first lightsaber being like from an old camera. Like I love that.
Yeah.
They just like you said, they use what they had. They're like, oh, this looks cool if we do this, this, and this.
Hmm.
It can look something that's out of this world, but it's from real life.
Yeah.
So oh, it's just, it's so fun. I love the creativity and the imagination and not just like accepting, but the encouraging adults to still have that
Yeah.
because it can be a hard life. I mean, as you know, things happen that we don't
Yeah.
expect and it can be very scary. And
Hmm.
I think it's so important for us to be able to not kind of lose that that childlike wanting to grow and learn and being fascinated with something. And um, this kind of thing makes me so hopeful and gives me so much joy, honestly. And especially right now when things are very rough online
Yeah.
and can be very depressing and doom scrolling can be awful. Um, Knowing what people love and what gives them hope and what gives them encouragement and just joy in day-to-day life is just a breath of fresh air, even just for me. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I said, there's so many different options for people. You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna find something. You know,
Yeah.
I've heard it described as like a buffet. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you don't have
And
to
that's
eat
like that with the
everything at the buffet.
cosplaying too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to take everything, you can take what you want. And,
Yeah.
there's different options for if you want to how you wanna express your fandom too. If
Hmm.
you wanna, really dive into the books, you can do books. If you want to explore more of the video games or cosplaying or whatever it is,
Painting.
there's
There's some
yeah.
amazing painters. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the art, I mean, there's so many things that you can do. Um, Creating, there's like so many people that make like the props and different things or
Hmm.
lightsabers. Like it's so incredible to see a movie that was made initially in 77 that no one expected to do well
Right.
and everyone thought was like probably gonna flop, and it has turned into this cultural phenomenon. Like
Right.
it's incredible, and I think
Yeah.
that also is a testament to what you can do as a person with, like, your imagination and a lot of hard work.
Hmm. Yeah. It's driven a lot of creativity and inspired a lot of people. You know, and helped people through dark times and everything. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm all for it.
yeah, me too. So, the people that are listening or watching this, what do you hope that they take away from what you have shared today?
I would hope that they take away that there's so many different ways to enjoy and find a niche, and there's going to be other people there to welcome you with open arms. And it can be scary at first. It can be intimidating, but take that first step, and there will be somebody there to hold your hand. Um, I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I can confirm that for sure. I mean, I started this a couple months ago, and I didn't expect the response that I got. I don't think I've shared this on here, but my anxiety almost got the best of me in like a positive way because I did not expect the reaction of so many people wanting to come and share their story on a brand new podcast that no one knew anything about me or what my intentions were or what, I was going to do with it. And I can definitely attest to what you're saying that it is true. Take this step. People are there to support you and cheer you on and help you in any way that you can. It's 100% definitely the case.
Yeah. People are looking for these bright points. So
Yeah, yeah, and
it's
they get
great to
excited
have them.
when you're
Yeah.
into something that, if you wanna get into the video games, there's so many people that love them. They
Hmm.
will tell you where to start. They will help you probably find a more cost-effective way to go about it so that you can enjoy it. If it's
Hmm.
books, like, they'll tell you where to get into that or where you can find resources at your library or free audiobooks or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it's cosplaying. Like you said, there was community groups where you get together and you do it together. So
Yeah.
yeah, don't be afraid. It is scary to do anything new, and it is scary to jump into this, especially when it can come across as like kind of a negative place, which it can
Yeah.
be, but it's not. And outside of the internet space, like it is very welcoming and it is there too. Like, I mean, I had people that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're following me. I can't believe that you're sending me a message like, welcome to this like journey. Like,
Hmm.
what do you need? Like, I was blown away by that. Like, I never in my wildest dreams, like,
Oh,
honestly
yeah.
expected it. So
Yeah. It's overwhelmingly positive. Not necessarily loud about it, but definitely positive.
Yes, yes. And yeah, I love it. So I think that's a great thing to take away from this. And I can just echo what you say by saying it is true. I can attest that it is true what you're saying. So thanks for putting that out there.
Yeah.
And I always ask people a really fun question too at the end.
Okay.
And so I think they're fun questions and other people think they're fun. So I don't know. I think the listeners or watchers think they're fun.
All
But
right. Hit me.
yeah. So you love the Mandalorians and you have,
Mm-hmm.
your character and your costume and everything for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
If you could pick an era of Star Wars for your character to be a part of, what would you pick?
I think it would definitely be post Clone Wars. Um, you know, right in the midst of all that craziness going on. Um, I think it would make I think it would make the most sense. I've kind of just imagined, you know, kind of built my own like fan fiction behind it and everything about
Yeah,
having like a decommissioned Star Destroyer that you know grabbed and all this stuff
I love it.
and the LAATs, the clone
Yeah,
ships, gunships and stuff like that, getting decommissioned equipment and using that to bounty hunt and all that stuff. So I think that would probably be. I mean, it's not definitely not the greatest of times, for sure, but there'd be plenty of business for a bounty hunter or
that's true.
20 or something.
There'd be a lot of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and sadly, not as many Mandalorians that would be your competition. So,
No, no, sadly not. But also, yes, thankfully, not as many competitors. But um, that's neither here nor there. So,
yeah, yeah. No, I just, oh my goodness. I just think it would be so cool to see more people that have so much backstory in their characters that they have created for whatever it is, cosplaying or
hmm
anything else, even just content online or whatever.
all your costume
Um,
are just a lot of
yeah,
them have
just
backstories.
yes, and to see, I mean, like I know of, and I talked to someone where their character ended up in a comic, and I just would love to see more of that, and to see
Yeah.
more of people that have put so much thought into it somehow in Star Wars canon, because I just think
hmm
that would be so cool.
Definitely would be very, very cool.
Yeah. So
Bring-
I don't know. I think, authors are different people. There's so much inspiration to find in different places. And
Mhm.
I think there's such just a great community to pull that from, or for those people to be inspired to maybe even get into writing or things like that.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just a fun little thought I had,
Oh
I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah, we keep a section on our website on the forums of our website for fan fiction. So, a lot of burgeoning writers start with their fan fiction and hopefully,
Yeah.
see them on the bookshelves one day.
Yeah. It's so cool. And I'm always one of those people where if you love it or you don't love it and you think you can do it better, go do it. Go
Mhm.
do it. Put your creativity out there and use that in a positive way to make Star Wars better.
Yeah.
So I love it. Yeah. Well, thank you so much,
Thank you
Kevin,
for
for
having
coming
me. I really
on.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I had so much fun talking about all of this, and it's inspiring me to want to do more things within Star Wars, with the time that I probably do have if I was a little more effective with my time. I was going to say with the time I don't have, and I'm like,
I'm
well,
sure you're doing fine with your time. You're
but
busy.
yeah, hey, it's life. We're all learning to do it the best that we can, and I think what's important, like we even talked about, is just growing as much as we can every day, and giving ourselves grace, and know that we are doing the best. And sometimes it's a little bit backwards and sometimes you go forwards or around. But as long as you're moving, trying to move in a certain
Yeah.
way, then that's all that
Yeah.
matters. It's
Yep.
a creativity process is that way too.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. Don't be afraid of going. How does it go? Don't be afraid of going slow. Be afraid of standing still. I think
Yeah.
is.
Great words. Great
Yeah.
words to end everything on. Don't
Hmm.
That's very true and very wise. And I feel like that's something Qui-Gon would say. There's so many times that I'm
Probably.
like,
I
that sounds
think
like
it.
a Qui-Gon thing.
I think it's Chinese, but yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. Well,
Hmm.
thanks again, Kevin,
Thanks.
and hope to have you on here in some capacity again. So
Look forward to it.
thanks for joining me today on Tales of the Force. This podcast was hosted, produced, and created by me, Jessica McNair, with music by Michael Hoover. Don't forget, our stories of hope is the force of this fandom, and they are a powerful ally to each and every one of us. Life creates them, makes them grow. Their energy surrounds us and binds us together. Luminous beings, we all are, not this crude matter. May the force be with you always.